Reunited, and it feels so good. Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox. This is This Week in Watches. It's our first in 2 weeks. I'm here with Josh Thanos.
Hey, guys.
And we are bringing you the news of the week. We've got a lot tonight. It's Rolex race weekend. Juan Montoya is competing against himself in our This or That. Ruminations on bad girls you don't take home to mom, and a Swiss bordello for your wrist, courtesy of Bovet. I can see our global audience is joining us, and I'd like to acknowledge our live audience in the studio. We've got a bigger crowd than usual tonight. And you can hear them. Matt Forster, Noah, you are first and foremost in our hearts. Congratulations for tonight. Okay, so right now, wrist shots. Josh, throw it up there. What you got?
My, where are we at? Here we go. All right, so I got the Breitling Aerospace Evo. This is my kind of daily driver at this point. White dial. It's best quartz Breitling they make, in my opinion. I think we've talked about it many, many times before.
Now, you put that one on an aftermarket strap with an aftermarket, well, not an aftermarket buckle, but a Breitling factory accessory that you bought separately.
That's right, yeah. So this normally comes on either a leather strap with a tank buckle or a Breitling titanium bracelet. So I took this off, made it, sported it up a little bit.
Show them the slider in that. Show them how that actually works.
So the slider action is really, really cool. So inside here, we get a close-up. All right, so this has an adjustable slider that is fantastic because my wrist tends to swell and shrink throughout the day. And this gives me, it's similar to like almost how much the play you can get in a Rolex Deep Sea, honestly.
Beats the hell out of Velcro. Oh, right, real quick, I'm going to show you mine. This is one you know well, guys. This is my cool Dual chronograph. It's a 2010 limited series piece, black dial, white gold, 200 pieces, foudroyant. It's actually got 8 separate hands on the dial if you count this. Double power reserve, 2 time displays, and the foudroyant. It's an octopus made of metal. You can see that gorgeous caliber, 380, beautifully executed twin mainspring barrels. This is a wonderful piece I've had for a couple of years. Still in love since 2014. We've had a lovely relationship. This was my 30th birthday watch to myself. But I think I was kind of stumping on this one for at least 4 years before I owned it. So let me tell you, the dream watch that you buy that remains your dream watch, that's the keeper. Okay, folks, tonight, real quick, remember, we have thewatchbox.com since November. It's the all-new way to buy, sell, and trade watches. Check out thewatchbox.com new arrivals. That's where you can see the stuff we haven't really listed yet. It's where I always check to see if my minute repeater has come in. While I wait for my ship, you may find the love of your life. That's thewatchbox.com, open 24 hours a day. All right, it's Rolex 24 weekend at Daytona, which means... No, not NASCAR, guys. This is the Rolex 24 at Daytona. They turn both ways. Okay, so tonight, the Rolex Daytona Sodalite. This is our This or That. I'm going to give Josh the details. He's going to pick our winner. Rolex Daytona Sodalite, there it is, versus Audemars Piguet's Juan Pablo Montoya. Now, the Audemars Piguet Juan Pablo Montoya, namesake of a man who's actually on the track this weekend. Okay. Here's your choice, Josh. Yeah. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Juan Pablo Montoya limited edition from 2004. This is the titanium one in 42 millimeters. They made 1,000 of these. Designed in consultation with Richard Mille, a company that is partially owned by Audemars Piguet. It was an entirely different look, pioneered the square pusher arrangement that would become standard on the 44 millimeter offshores later on. This is a watch that was rich with automotive imagery. You see lug nuts, you see drilled out perforations and frame rails, you see all sorts of carbon fiber bezel inserts that grace the dial of the watch with a tapisserie pattern featuring the Colombian flag colors for Juan Pablo and a checkered flag motif on the tapisserie cut of the dial itself. Okay, the first offshore to feature a display case back. Before this, believe it or not, guys, you could not see the movement in your watch again. See, more automotive imagery. This is a racing machine for your wrist before Richard Mille turned that into a cliche. And of course, caliber 2226, 28240 module, JLC and Dubois Depraz doing business with Audemars Piguet, 100 meters water resistant. Today, these typically sell for $29,000 to $33,000. And the Juan Pablo in platinum, I will admit, would have been the perfect aesthetic rival for the Rolex tonight, but in terms of price point, it's about 3 times what you're going to pay for the tie. All right, the alternative, Josh. The Rolex Daytona Sodalite dial. Now, this was a continuation of the white gold series from the 1990s. After the Zenith movement, it stayed in the catalog, and from about 2000 to 2005, you could get this glorious rich blue marbled tectosilicate Sodalite dial that totally transformed the look of the Daytona. Now, I will say this, it was available with and without diamond indices. So I want to make sure people know you don't necessarily have to get it with the Nouveau Riche Fabulous Diamond Dial, even though I will say this is one of the best use of diamonds on a men's watch. Not to be confused with the 2001 Daytona Beach series for women with the blue mother of pearl dial, and yes, I do want that watch. All right, all of that said, there was a version with intricate Arabic minutes, and we're going to make that the definitive version that we call up tonight, because diamonds for a men's watch, too polarizing. We don't want it to sway the results. Okay. A Rolex Daytona, regardless, will be the race winner's gift for the winning driver in each car in the 3 classes at Daytona this weekend. Who might win a Rolex Daytona this weekend? Ironically, Montoya himself, who will be driving. And he's known to drive with his AP, so he may wind up double strapped by Sunday afternoon with both of these this or that's. So the discontinued Daytona Sodalite dial sells for between $28,000 and $33,000 today, so it's a price point parity with the Juan Pablo in titanium. Josh, which one is yours and why?
All right, so I'm choosing between essentially the ultimate winner's watch with the Daytona and the ultimate race car watch with the Montoya AP. So AP's 44 millimeters, titanium though, so it's going to be somewhat wearable. The first square pusher offshore, right? That's kind of what set off the whole trend. All right, so there's some history there as well. I would have to say, geez, that's a tough call. I'm going to go with the AP only because I don't know if I can pull off that the Sodalite dial on the winner's watch. Yeah, unfortunately.
I will say this. It's a more wearable watch than it looks like, guys. It looks like the later Offshore 44. It's technically a 42, and the first of the square are rectangular pushers. This thing is just covered with automotive paraphernalia, imagery, details. It's a glorious watch to loop, even if you don't turn it over to the case back. This is one from the Watch You Want days. Thank you so much, Watch You Want photography department, for my many stock photos.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess the winner is the Juan Pablo. I'm gonna divide the jury here. This isn't a boxing match, but we're gonna split the decision. I'm gonna go with the Sodalite dial. It's the same color as my shirt. After green, blue is close to my heart.
You can pull that off better than I can. There you go.
There we go. All right. Okay, guys. So tonight, remember to stay with me when the broadcast ends. I am Tim_Masso on Instagram. I update daily, and I always respond to comments on the same day's image. So if you post same day on one of my photos, I'm going to respond to your question, even if it's silly. Most of them are. We're talking about $50,000 man jewelry. How could they not be?
Send silly questions.
Okay. So right now, and again, if you're going to open Instagram, separate window. Stick with us. Okay. Comment in the description below if you're watching this on tape. Okay, industry news. Josh, SIHH 2018 continues its eclipse of Basel. Geneva moving into pole position to continue our racing conceit for the night. The 28th SIHH since 1991 saw brand participation increase from 16 to 35 in 2 model years. So we've basically seen the size of the show more than double. Also, we've seen a remarkable growth of foot traffic, as this year the show grew by 20% in terms of total foot traffic to just over 20,000, and 12% more media credentials were issued. There was also an influx of the independents from Basel's old palace, where you would have the independents like Kari Voutilainen, for instance, and earlier you would see the likes of HYT and whatnot. They're all in the Carré des Horlogères now. The Carré des Horlogères is the special section where you can meet with the independents, often with the man whose name is on the watch. So this is a special place to be. If you're going to do just one trade show a year, do SIHH, see the Carré. All of that being true, this is one not to miss, because now they have a public day. The 19th this year was the first time you could go as a member of the public to the show. It had always been media and dealers before. So as the show grows, I should also mention that the periphery of the show grows. Franck Muller had their own exhibition in the area during the show. LVMH was there. Bulgari was camped out in a separate hotel. Other brands that traditionally exhibit at Basel are setting up shop around the SIHH show. Josh, are we doing SIHH next year?
I freaking hope so. I mean, if Gavard doesn't send me, you'll probably just buy my own ticket and head over with you.
Yeah, it's a hell of a good time, guys. It's intimate, it's fun, it hasn't lost the soul and the character of the old insider meet and greet that SIHH used to be. It's easier to see than Basel. Budget 3 days, you see everything plus the city. So this is the way to learn about watches. Also, and this is continuing our news items within the industry, we just learned that Philips has announced its engagement to auction the piece unique A Lange und Söhne 1815 homage to Walter Lange. Now, it's a steel 40mm piece unique. They're making one, and it features a selectable on and off deadbeat seconds and a sweep seconds in the small second subdial. This one is particularly special because it's in stainless steel with a black enamel dial executed in-house by Lange. So the timepiece is part of a quartet, and the quartet was released to commemorate the life of Walter Lange, who died at 94 in 2017 during SIHH, so almost exactly a year ago. He was the Lange patriarch. He refounded the company after the fall of communism, and this is something he always wanted to see. One of his ancestors' first patents, Ferdinand Adolf Lange, created a deadbeat seconds pocket watch complication, and so this watch has that, and it bears his name. Now, the auction will take place during Philips Watch Auction 7 in Geneva on May 12th and 13th of this year, and expect fireworks. All of the proceeds will go to benefit the Children's Action Fund, so bid away in good conscience. This is as much fun as you can have with a watch in an auction, short of only watch. And while pre-owned Lange remains soft in the marketplace, the demand for the steel watches remains red hot, especially when they come up for auction. So steel examples defy the softness in resale, and they detonate the auction blocks. So bring money, expect fireworks. That's May 12th and 13th in Geneva, Philips Watch Auction 7. Josh,
yep.
Why is Lange resale so weak? Can you figure it out? They seem to have one of the best products, and they only make about 5,000 watches a year.
I mean, we talk about, this, and it has to do with, well, I think on this end, we always talk about marketing and distribution. Distribution is always going to be an issue, but really marketing. I mean, I think that, when people think about the heights of high horology, they don't really talk about A. Lange & Son like they should, because you're having movements that are more highly finished than Patek Philippe, brand that only makes 5,000 watches a year. Should be there should be some demand for these watches. I think also, the way that they release their watches, I know that sometimes they'll release the same model in a slightly larger case and things like that. That will hurt the resale value, which, collectors nowadays especially, they like to, trade their watches. So, you're going to have issues when people think that when they're buying the watch, it's not going to hold value, then they're going to not buy the watch, and it's not going to hold value. It's a vicious cycle, right?
And that's a good point. I mean, since the 1815 chronograph came back to life a few years ago, how many versions have we seen between the boutiques, the different dial colors, the different metals? It probably would behoove Lange to cut back production for a year or two, focus on fewer variants, really do what FP Journe does so well, which is to say, I'm done with this model and truly mean it.
Be done with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, as tempting as it is to create another iteration and milk a really successful design, it brings you more street cred and lasting value to just do one winning design and then keep people salivating for the next one rather than the next iteration. So Lange, 5,000 watches a year. The good news for us is you have a relatively rare watch from a company that makes great stuff that you can buy for a decent discount. I love the brand. Someday I will own a Zeitwerk. Until then, I would love to see the brand kind of recover some of the momentum it had in the late 90s, mid-2000s.
Agreed.
Okay, question from Andre Philippe. Question to Josh. Would you go for an A Lange und Söhne 1815 up-down or a Patek Philippe 5296R? So an automatic a manual wind Calatrava costing $25,000. He's leaning toward the Lange. Which one would you take?
Well, actually, I answered his question in there, and while it's a hard question to answer because you can't ever go against Patek. You're getting everything that you assume you're going to get with a Patek Philippe, but because of the rarity of the watch and because of the highly finished nature of that watch, I personally might lean towards Lange & Son or Lange und Söhne.
Lange und Söhne. Okay, brand standards aside for pronunciation, we love the Lange here. I think there are many versions of manual wind Patek Philippe Calatravas available. The one thing I just don't find terribly inspiring is the long history of using the 215 caliber in these watches, which to me doesn't give you nearly the technological interest that you get in a properly sized and visible caliber from Lange, which tends to build movements to suit case size and build movements to suit specific models, plus the level of finishing and depth and tonal contrast you get with the Lange movement, as well as their chunky pocket watch inspired cases. All of those speak more to me. But let me ask you, which watch looks better on your wrist?
That's a question.
Go with your gut instinct there. That's always the right answer. Okay, guys, this is an interactive show, and though I'm running motor mouth pace tonight to try to get all of our content in, Josh is minding the chat box, typing away responses, and we are answering live. This is an interactive experience. That said, let's go to new watches for the night and follow-up commentary. Okay, guys, this rumor is making the rounds, but there are now images so we can confirm its existence independently. There is a mystery machine from Panerai that we did not see at SIHH. This was shown in the back rooms. This is a watch that we've scoured the badlands of the internet to unearth, and I want to give special credit to noted Purists Pro Forum members Bruno M1 and Shorty's Home, plus Panerai historical scholar Jose Perestroika, who you can visit on Instagram and the web. That is him, Periscope on Instagram, with his web address for his website. We know the new watch is a Radomir 1940 47 millimeters in a white metal. We don't know if it's steel or white gold just yet. What we do know is that it features the white metal, this Arabic numeral sort of sector dial with unique hands, and the hands are really something special. They're almost torch hands. Think of a fleur-de-lis and that sort of flourish at the end. It's that sort of shape. Moreover, we know that there is a cream dial version. So there's the cream dial version that you see there, and then there is also a black dial version, and the black dial version is just as striking. Now, Jose posted a photo on his Instagram of a vintage Rolex pocket watch that clearly inspired this timepiece, and that vintage Rolex pocket watch is arrayed alongside the image of a photoshopped version of this new watch. Please, that is a photo manipulation to the right. The new watch will not be signed Rolex on its dial. Jose is simply trying to show the family resemblance that is quite evident. I don't want to piss off Panerai or Rolex here, so all disclaimers, please, guys, take heed. That said, this is one of the most ambitious, audacious, and different new Panerai for a while. I don't know if it works, but many said Panerai played it safe this year and that more radical models might follow later in 2018. Josh, what do you think of this? We've heard it might be called the 790 and the 791, so the black and the cream dial respectively. Do you like the 790?
So without really historical reference, you know, I don't know if the watch actually sells, but just aesthetically on the wrist, first impression, I love it. I think it's really cool. I think that, you know, the Panerai has a history of making, you know, Cali dials, SLC dials, which all have historical reference, and that's why that's an added reason why they're great. I think that if there's a historical reference and Panerai can prove it, I think the watch makes a lot of sense, but even if there's not, I like the way it looks.
Yeah, it looks tremendous. Here's the thing. The only controversy here, we know that there are historical links between Rolex and Panerai. Up until the early 1950s, literally every Panerai watch was made by Rolex with a Rolex movement and then modified for specific military application by Panerai. So there is a real connection between the two companies, but it was always the transition from the Rolex Oyster pocket watch to those first reference 3646 Panerai models that linked the company, along with the use of the Cordoba 618 pocket watch movement modified by Rolex. What we have here appears to be a Rolex dial with no established relationship to Panerai, repurposed with a Panerai. So the question becomes, is this a historical nod and a tribute to Panerai's history, or is this Paneristi plagiarism? Because it's one thing to say, we're acknowledging our joint history with Rolex. It's another thing to say, here's a piece of Rolex history we really like and would like to claim as our own. I don't know. It's probably related because I know there's all kinds of questions of controversy if it's otherwise. This is Panerai taking a chance, and I think it's a bold offering. I would love to see where this goes and see some details from either brand at this point.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Get some answers here.
Guys, if you got photos of this, send them to me, tim@thewatchbox.com, because I would love to know where this goes. All right, so we got comments coming in. So it is a live show, and I can see Thumper JDM saying, I am not a Panerai fan, but the coloring of that dial and the leather strap is fantastic. I could say the same thing. I am not a Panerai fan, and I love this watch.
Yeah, I think it's universal. I mean, me being a Panerai fan, probably the biggest Panerai fan in the office here, I think the watch aesthetically makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I always thought that the way forward with Panerai was new dial designs in the same clean Radiomir and Luminor packages and new materials that don't change the fundamental architecture of the watch or the dial. This is a great way forward. I do think it'll be controversial, but I love it a heck of a lot more than the new Luminor logo collection, which is very conservative and a little too much for my tastes, and the Dubois 38-42, which plays to a unisex option of which I'm, not really part of that market. So this is exciting. Okay, from a mystery machine to a dream machine, the De Bethune DB28 steel wheels from a company that I like to say only makes Grail watches. This is the steel wheels built on the well-known DB28 articulated lug platform. Now the watch is 42.6 millimeters in titanium and 9.3 millimeters thick, but you can have long or short pivoted lugs. The lugs pivot at that center pivot mid-case. You can get them long or short depending on your personal preference. The movement is skeletonized and engraved caliber DB2115V4 here. You see gorgeous twin mainspring barrels, open and skeletonized with a titanium engraved main bridge for the barrels themselves. And then you can also see that the titanium free-sprung balance with proprietary white gold balance blocks and the hairspring of their own manufacture and design, plus a unique triple parachute shock protection system. Jesus. There are the 3 separate shock absorbers and a steel palladium 3D moon phase. A 3D moon phase that is emblematic of the brand. Sapphire hour hand, open barrels, dial side balance, 25 pieces, about 88,800 US. Josh, who buys this watch? Let me know. Who is he and what else does he have in his collection when he buys this kind of watch?
What's the MSRP on this again?
88,800.
Okay,
25 pieces.
You know what? Seems somewhat reasonable when we're seeing, when I compare every expensive watch to Richard Mille, it seems like it's reasonable. I mean, I think this is someone who's a fan of high horology, someone who doesn't care if they know what people know, if they don't care that people know what they're wearing, right? So you could wear a dime for the same price. You can wear a platinum Daytona, or you can wear something like this. And that's the person who's owning this is maybe someone who lives in New York City, maybe goes to the Red Bar Society, like somebody like that. Right?
So he's a watch nerd. Is he
Young
that guy, or is he maybe a Silicon Valley entrepreneur?
You know what? I think that there's a mirror there. Young finance guys or young, Silicon Valley guys are going to be really interested in something like this. I think that's kind of who wears these watches.
I think that's reasonable. I think you could say that there's long been an east-west parallelism between New York hedge funds, which are kind of upstart, cool, freewheeling, and casual, kind of as a business environment, and Silicon Valley. So yeah, I can see either place this watch really flying high. I don't see this as a Miami watch. I feel that's the place where someone's going to buy the King Gold Hublot. They're going to buy the Rolex Daytona with gold and diamonds.
Or the Richard Mille.
Yeah, or they're going to buy the Richard Mille, or they're going to buy the AP Offshore in colored gold.
Right, or the summer watch, the white the white dial summer
and I don't see this as an LA watch either. I see Miami and the Sunset Strip being parallels, the hedge fund and Silicon Valley being the other parallels, and never the tween shall meet.
Right, yeah, techie, a little bit more serious, and it looks like you have a spaceship on your wrist.
Yeah. Let me know in the chat box, guys, would you buy this watch? If you have the money, you've got 90 grand to blow on a watch, do you buy this one or do you buy something else? Let's just say you have that money to spend on one watch, not a whole collection. Let me know in the chat box what you would buy for 90,000 US dollars.
Or if you have 90 grand to blow on a watch, give me a call.
Yeah, even better. Leave your phone number in the chat box.
Give me a call.
Okay.
I can help you out there.
Okay, so from dream watches to what some might describe as watches on a nightmare scale. If big is better, Hublot might be the biggest and the best. So I'm not going to make that claim, but the Hublot Big Bang Mecha 10 Ceramic Blue is one of the few Hublot watches that I can say, in all honesty, speaks to me. First of all, I love blue. Second of all, I love the durability of ceramic, and I was lucky to be there at the birth of this particular model line, the Mecha 10 in 2016, and I do dig the idea of the movement and the architecture and the way it looks. We'll get into that in a moment. Okay, from the Hublot LVMH pirate ship on Lake Geneva, you can see the Geneva jet d'eau in the background, the big fountain, and then you can see the LVMH logos on the pirate ship. Even Bulgari was there, but they rented out a floor in a hotel because Bulgari styles that way. So Hublot released this new watch, which is a continuation of the Mecha 10 from 2016 and the Mecha 10 All Black from a year ago. The watch is 45 millimeters in indigo blue ceramic case. I really think more than indigo blue. In person, it plays more as navy, so maybe a bit more muted than the press photos. It features quick release lugs. It features a full clasp in titanium and ceramic, dual power reserves on the dial side, and you can see these dual power reserves. The one that features the red shock inside an aperture only becomes visible when you're down to 2 days of power reserve, and then the rotary dial at 6 o'clock shows you all 10 days. The watch does have 10 days of manual wind power reserve from its Meccano-inspired movement. So if you're in Europe, you played with Meccano if you were into machines as a kid. Boys and girls both, and if you're from the US, you played with erector sets. It's the same basic thing. Mechanized nut and bolt tools and toys for kids. So I love that, and I love the rack and pinion system that drives the power reserve displays. Now, the current all-black ceramic Mecha 10 costs $22,000 US, and I believe this represents an excellent approximation of what the new watch will ultimately cost. We don't have details just yet. I love this. Josh, what do you think?
I think it's cool. We've talked about Hublot in the past, and you know, it's kind of like an unpretentious brand. You know, it's just like a fun, cool brand. So when you talk about watches like this, they go into the high horology parts of things, and like, you know, I think it makes it adds another level to the brand.
Yeah, I would say wearing an Hublot is almost like driving an Excalibur or a Zimmer. And again, avert your eyes if you're an automotive purist here, but open that second tab, Google Excalibur car, and you'll see exactly what I mean. It's so over the top that you can't really wear it or drive the car in earnest, but it's a sense of sort of luxury and silliness, and you're either in on the joke or you're not. These are not watches designed to be taken in earnest at face value.
There's no Hublot purists.
Yeah, these are watches that are pure, silly fun. It's the Super Bowl halftime show of wristwatches. It's grand in scale, it's over the top, it costs a fortune by the standards of normal day-to-day household items, but at the same time, it's hard to miss it, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Also, unlike the Super Bowl halftime show, Hublot watches are generally pretty well made, and you don't have to worry about a wardrobe malfunction.
That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, they're well made. There's actual thought put into these watches. You know, they're not going to be highly tradable. These aren't watches that you're going to be on a long waiting list to get a lot of times, so you can get them if you have the money. And, you know, they're wearable every day, and the one thing that's underrated about this case is that it's super comfortable on the wrist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even my baby wrist, guys. I've done it. It works.
It fits, absolutely.
So I actually like this watch. I think this is one of the most interesting Hublot. You get the Hublot look with real watchmaking interest. Horologically, this is on the radar. This is not a borrowed caliber. This is developed in-house. It's got their characteristic materials fusion with the combination of sapphire, the titanium inner case, the ceramic case and bezel, and the rubber strap. I like this.
All blue ceramic, right?
All blue ceramic.
Who the hell's doing that? Nobody.
Yeah, AP's got little pieces of blue ceramic this year. Hublot.
Little pieces.
Throwing down the gauntlet. Okay, so now here's the thing. If you need more evidence that Hublot's marketing has been a big success, this is exactly the image they want to cultivate. My mom said she doesn't like Hublot. And I actually think this is great news for Hublot, because Hublot is officially the bad girl you date during Daytona Bike Week that you know full well you don't bring home to mom. And the Queen Mom. But here's the thing, and yes, that was Joan Jett back there. She's from Long Island too. People from Long Island are special. All right, so speaking of bad reputations, thank you for the seamless segue, Joan, and both literal and figurative, we bring you a watch from a company that has mastered the art of putting a Swiss bordello on your wrist. Yes, it's exactly that for your forearm. This is the Edouard Bovet Tourbillon 10-day triple time zone. It's an eyeful. It's a wristful at 46 millimeters, 17 millimeters thick, but you do get a lot for your money. The new watch features guilloche, it features enameling, it features freehand engraving, hammered bridges. The enameling on this watch is actually executed over guilloche, so you get both. It's a flinke guilloche, translucent over an engraved plate. Is that enough? Of course not. 2 additional time zones beside the center time are actually depicted on globe domes that move. Hand-painted and engraved, these are powered by a caliber 16 MB04 TT. Got all that? Well, it's a 10-day power reserve, manually wound with flying tourbillon, the 3 time zones, 8 separate indicators, a primary time zone AM/PM disc, and a power reserve indicator. A Bovet Amadeo case, which they've been doing since 2010. So the Amadeo case lets you turn it into a wristwatch, a deck clock, and yes, you're looking at it in pocket watch mode. So what will you pay for the 60 pieces available? Well, between $337,000 if you want it in rose gold and $347,500 to get it in white gold.
Bargain.
Which one do you get, Josh?
Can I take a pass?
I'm going to go with white gold, and I'm going to wear it as a wristwatch, and judgment be damned. We mentioned the De Bethune is for your hedge fund on the West Coast, or your hedge fund on the East Coast, your Silicon Valley on the West Coast.
Right.
We said that, there's also a Miami and Sunset Strip sensibility if you go south on those 2 coasts.
Okay.
This is your Miami watch. This is your LA beachfront watch.
Okay. I guess. I mean, this is definitely an eccentric timepiece for an eccentric billionaire type character.
This is a great watch to wear if you're a Gazprom executive in Miami on vacation.
That's right.
So anyway, guys, this is Bovet at Bovetest. I think this is
outrageous.
Almost 500 pieces go into this movement. This is all about what Pascal Raffi, the owner of Bovet, calls artistic density. The notion that your watch has métier d'art and watchmaking and engineering and history and art design. And if you want all of that in one single lump spoonful, this is your watch.
I think Bovet as a whole, if you don't like it, it's not for you at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't made for you if you don't like that watch.
And if you thought I was just making an analogy when I said this is a Miami Beach watch, if you go to the Miami airport, the clocks in the airport are made by Bovet.
That's right.
I rest my case. Okay, so now, moving on, we've got a lot going on this weekend that's tangential to the world of watches. Rolex Race Weekend 2018. Again, not NASCAR. This is the sports car race. They turn both ways. So, Juan Pablo Montoya, Helio Castroneves, and Fernando Alonso will all be driving in this race. F1 is becoming one hell of a feeder series for US-based sports car racing, if you want to look at it that way. 50 cars are going to take the start on the Speedway Road Course. And again, I promised you guys they turn both ways. The Speedway Road Course has both. Now, my pick for Sunday's winners. I know at least a few of you guys are going to be following this. In prototypes, the Cadillac DPI number 10. The car is on pole, so it's going to start first overall on the front row. It won last year. It's on pole and the fastest this year, but this is last year's winner. And this has been a 24-hour car for a full year now. So I'm quite confident that there's at least a 1 in 4 chance this car takes it. That said, it's unpredictable, and I think 1 second covers the top 10 cars in qualifying. In GTLM, which are your production-based sports cars, but heavily modified, I'm going with a golden oldie, the Corvette number 3. A last hurrah for this generation of the C7R. This car's been around for 4 years. This is going to be the last time we see it this season. And a late career resurgence by one of my childhood heroes, the once dominant Dane Jan Magnussen, to put the old machine on class pole. And in GTD, if you guys are familiar with the Hublot Ferrari of Houston Ferrari Limited Edition, actually that was in celebration of Ricci Ferrari of Houston, and the Ricci Competizione Ferrari 488 number 82 is my pick to take the GTD class win for the beleaguered city of Houston's home team and a squad that has supported sports car racing globally for decades. That is my pick to win. Is anyone going to be watching the show? Sound off. Question from Watch Yoda. Tim, mid-engine Corvette, can't wrap my head around it. I've heard something interesting, and I happen to subscribe to the theory that the C7, the front-engine Corvette, is not going away. The mid-engine Corvette is going to arrive as a flagship model, and it's going to run with both a front engine and a mid-engine Corvette, spanning prices from about $60,000 up to about $200,000 if you take something like a ZR1 mid-engine, allowing them to compete with the likes of Lamborghini and Ferrari and Aston Martin and Maserati at a price point where the current Corvette ZR1 really can't play. So yes, mid-engine Corvette. I don't see it as the end of the front-engine Corvette. You actually borrowed our old sales manager's Corvette C7. How did you like that?
I mean, it's unbelievable. Driving around in Miami, where you see lots of Ferraris and Lamborghinis and whatnot.
Supercar traffic jam.
A supercar traffic jam. You feel like you're driving one, and I'll tell you, you get looks like you're driving one, and the car is a freaking rocket. I mean, going from my Jeep Wrangler, right, my four-door Jeep Wrangler, to that, the Stingray was like literally strapping me to a rocket. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one, that's the basic car. That wasn't the Z06, that wasn't the ZR1.
That's basic. If there anything more than that, I probably would have killed myself, honestly.
I'm actually in a race to the bottom with Ariel Adams, trying to encourage each other to the worst possible financial decision making. I just convinced him to buy a Audi RS5 Cabrio, and now we talk almost daily about what cars we're going to buy next. So down that path lies madness. I've never ruined myself with watches, whiskeys, or women, and I think wheels, the final W that destroys every man's life ultimately, that's going to be the end of me. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I can see right there Edward Ledden from Sweden is saying, Tim, what do you think of the Ferrari California? It's going to be a bread and butter car that makes a ton of money for Ferrari, especially now that it's publicly listed. The car has been controversial since we saw the original version. The California T with the turbo, especially with handling packages, is a respectable performance car, but for me, it's always going to be more of an Italian SL600 than a Ferrari. It's always going to be an Italian answer to a German car rather than a Ferrari in its own right. Tim, what's your opinion on plastic movement holders in watches? I don't like plastic in watches, whether it's a functional part or simply a structural part. I'm not a fan, neither is Mike Michaels. And Watch Yoda mentioning a $650,000 Ford GT. Yes, that car is racing this weekend at Daytona. That's campaigned by Chip Ganassi. Penske, Chip Ganassi, and Yost. Even the teams in this race are ridiculous. You guys got to watch some of that, or at least the highlights. Everyone, thank you so much. A notice from Tigran saying he hopes there's a Glickenhaus Ferrari prototype in it. No, but that's coming, I'm told.
Robert Greenheck, fan of the company, is asking us to talk about the Super Bowl. There's not really much to say except we're pandering real hard right now.
All that.
There you go.
All that said, I have to give a shout out to former Watch You Want and Watchbox friends of the house who have even used to stop by our headquarters in Florida. Ed Brown and Scott Sharp of Extreme Speed Motorsports. Their team is competing at the race this weekend. We wish them and theirs the best of luck. That's it. We're Watchbox, and this weekend is starting. I'm Tim. He's Josh. They're the amigos. We're off to dinner at Danny's house. Thanks for logging on.
Fly, Eagles, fly!